Welcome to the Change in the Perception of Sales podcast. And today I'm delighted to say we are joined by a returning guest by the name of Robin Burr. Robin, great to have you back with us in the podcast in person this time.
Yes, 100%. I'm here in the room.
In the room. With the neon light.
With what?
With the neon light.
With the neon light, it's great. Yeah, and the prime mugs. And you, of course.
Of course.
The Lost Gallagher.
Lost Gallagher, brother. We're here for a slightly different, well, similar but different reason today. So for those that haven't checked it out, I would highly recommend listening to Robin's episode probably just over 12 months ago, where we discussed his journey into sales and we discussed a few elements of hypnotherapy in sales as well, if you remember actually, or hypnotherapy in general.
Was I nerding out over a brain?
You were nerding out over a brain, yeah, but it was a great episode, so recommend anyone to give it a listen. But today we're here to film some kind of shorter content specifically around one area of sales which a lot of people maybe struggle with, and that is objection handling. So specifically on today's episode, we're going to be talking about how to deal with and maybe not overcome fob-offs or smoke screens or those initial objections that we might get early on in the process. And we thought no better person to have than you on the podcast, Robin, to help us digest this topic. So first of all, what is a smoke screen? Or what is a fob-off in sales?
Yeah, it's kind of a knee-jerk reaction, isn't it, that people have typically on a cold call, or sometimes it can come up like early in a meeting, but it's normally on like a cold call where someone's defense mechanism is triggered and they'll give you something to get rid of you. And I think a lot of the time it can be reasonably prevented, and we're going to talk about like ways to deal with it should it happen, because we're not going to get away from human nature. Like we were saying earlier, people have always had smokescreen objections. We're not going to deal with them completely, but knowing how to not be flustered in the moment, I think is going to be like critical for like new SDRs. Yeah, because it can really throw you if you're not prepared for it.
And the smokescreen objections, then we'll go through a few examples shortly. But as you mentioned, it's a knee-jerk, emotive reaction from a prospect. Why do people put up this defense barrier when they maybe receive a cold call, as an example? Yeah,
it's fear in my mind. It's we are, when you think about our job from our perception is that we're going in, we're trying to find people who we think we can help solve a problem, add real value to the organisation, which is all and good, and it's a very moral, ethical thing to do. From the other person's perspective, you're interrupting me, you're going to try and ask me for information, you're going to try and get time on my calendar, you're going to try and sell me something. And as soon as I let you in just a little bit, how am I going to get rid of you? Are you going to be like a bad penny, just keeps turning up? So this protective mechanism is, okay, what is my anti-salesperson program? And it just kicks in, and it's to give these knee-jerk reactions like, oh, we're all set, or I'm not interested, or I'm not the right person, or I'm running into a meeting. And it's just autopilot. So we can't blame our prospects for doing it. We just have to look at what are we doing that might be triggering those reactive kind of mechanisms. They're defense mechanisms. That's all they are.
Well, it's a good way to look at it as well. It's like protective. It's that fear. It's almost like to keep the prospect safe. From the salesperson. Yeah,
and I do it as well. Like I do, if I'm like walking along the road and I see someone there in a green, bright coloured jacket, I will cross the road, and I'm like, I shouldn't need to, but there's just this part of me that still comes into action. I'm like, I need to avoid this person. I don't want to get caught. Someone's trying to preach to me about saving the whales or whatever they want me to donate to.
Yeah.
So I feel horrible for it, but it happens, and we all do it. So as soon as we just acknowledge that it's just a human reaction. It's unconscious. It's knee-jerk. We can be a little bit more understanding and even forgiving for people who give us those objections.
Yeah. Okay. Some of those fob-offs then and knee-jerk smokescreen, you mentioned a few of them, but there's a list I've got here of some of the common ones. I'm not interested. I'm in a meeting. Not the right person. Call me back. Send me an email. We've got a supplier, we've got it covered, all of which, particularly early on in the first few seconds of the call, more often than not, are a knee-jerk, emotive, smokescreen reaction. Now, how as salespeople, we probably want to respond to some of these. Let me take a couple of examples. Maybe I'm in a meeting. A lot of salespeople, we see it all the time, we hear it all the time. How they want to respond is, how can you be in a meeting? You've just answered the phone. It can't be that important. Or, I'm not interested. How do you know you're not interested? You don't even know what I'm selling yet.
Yeah.
They might be common ways in which we want to respond, but I have a feeling you're going to tell us there might be better ways to respond and deal with some of these smokescreen reactions.
Yeah, well, you're fighting an emotional reaction with logic there. So all that does is push the other person back into their kind of like reptilian part of the brain, which is, I'm being caught out. So I'll double down on that anti-salesperson program, which eventually is just to hang up the phone or do something. So it seems logical, and I think we need to look at ourselves a little bit and think, like, I'm reacting emotionally to this. What I will say, we're going to get onto like specific ways to deal with like different objections. I would say that there's some bad advice out there on how to deal with it. There is actually some really good advice, and there's some talk tracks and some responses which are pretty okay. The issue I think that people still have getting smoke screens is the tone and the timing. So they'll get that kind of smoke screen objection, and they'll get it a few times, and then we've all seen Instagram or TikTok reels of some slick cold caller coming out with a rebuttal, and we think that's good, I'm going to try it. But sometimes, like, we don't wait for that emotional guard to come down. So what you're saying might logically be perfectly appropriate, but you're still hitting someone with it when they're in defense mode. And that's a big reason why, even though you're learning the techniques and you're learning the talk tracks and ways to handle objections, it's probably not working. It might not be what you're saying, because I'll probably suggest some things that we've heard before, but there'll be a difference in the timing and the tone that it's said that I think's really important.
How do we get a prospect out of defense mode? The fists are up.
Yeah.
How do we lower that defense?
Yeah, you play along with it for a moment. That's my advice, because often what happens is someone hits you with an objection, and you're like, I know the talk track to this, and so you hit them with it, and it's almost too smooth. It's almost too perfect. So I think not all, but in a lot of instances, it's to understand that person is running a story in their mind. If I say I'm in a meeting, this person will go. If I say I'm not the person that deals with it, this will happen. That's the little program that's running. And if that program doesn't kind of complete itself, it will stay in defense mode. So when we hit them with our best talk track that we saw work and sounds all logical and that program will just go like, no, I can't let this person win. It just gets combative. So the way to do it is to actually like run through it and give that person the perception of control. Don't give them control of the call, but give them the perception of control, and they'll let their own guard down. And it's like using diffusing statements that just let that person know that, okay, I'm off the hook. That make sense?
It does make sense. And let's get into it tactically then. So, and really specifically, we're on a cold call. A prospect picks up the phone and says, I'm not interested, thanks. What would your advice be on maybe how to deal with that situation?
Yeah, that's always one of the most interesting ones, because there's almost zero context as to why they've said it. So we can be pretty sure that they are purely rejecting not you as a person, but the interruption, right? That we haven't, and that's why a lot of people get their back up and they go, "Oh, well, how do you know you're not interested? You know what it's about." So instead, that diffusing statement that I'd use, or a way to diffuse it, is just to go, "Let's go man up each other." Oh, that makes sense. Okay, and that's just enough for that person to feel like, okay, this is playing out how I'd like it. And then I'll just throw it back on them as a question and go, is that kind of like because you're set with X and Y, or is that because I called you at the wrong time? Something like that, and not interested, is typically something that you've said which is not interesting. So the not interested one is, I'm not going to say it's a difficult one to deal with, but it's definitely a symptom of something that's happened upstream, like the way you've started the call. That's what they're not interested in. But to just go in and try and like fight your case, I think it just rubs people up the wrong way. Yeah. So a little diffusing statement, again, that makes sense. Yeah, no worries, no biggie. It's just enough to let that person feel like, yep, okay, that program says, see, it worked, you can relax now. And it's when they've opened up that you can then pose that question, which may re-engage them. Like, does that mean like you're already set for this? Or does that mean the problems I described aren't for you? But if you hit them with something like that too soon, their guard is still up, and no matter what you say, they'll just be in defense mode.
Yeah. Okay. And why does, like, let's say you've done the pitch, they've said I'm not interested, you then throw, is it, you're not interested in what I've said, or just, not interested because the time's not right. Why does giving those two options work really well to diffuse the situation?
I think it just, it's not as, it's kind of like the old school technique of like alternative closing, which is old hat and is not recommended, but it kind of eliminates that analysis paralysis that people might be in because you caught them off guard. And if you just ask why, you're like, whoa, that's a big question, and it's the whys triggers a little bit of pushback anyway and a bit of reactance. So I'm just a fan of giving people a couple of options. Is that because of this or something else? I might give them that something else option so they have the agency to answer. It's just about kind of predicting the flow of the conversation without them feeling like you're boxing them into a corner.
Yeah. Okay. We've been through not interested then. Another common one we get is, I'm in a meeting. How would you maybe respond with that smokescreen or fob off?
Okay. So on the way here, I saw a post which was slating a particular cold call intro. And this intro gets a lot of hate, but I'm going to give an unpopular opinion. I think there is space for that. Did I catch you at a bad time? Cold call it. A lot of people say, oh, it's always a bad time. I don't think that's true. It's not always a good time, but it's not always a bad time. So an opener that I ran with that had a really good success rate of dealing with this objection was, hey, Carl, it's Robin from Prime. Hey, I haven't caught you in the middle of a meeting, have I? So straight away, and that's kind of like a variation of that, is it a bad time? Or I might just say, without introducing myself, hey, Carl, I haven't caught you on your way into a meeting. You're not stepping into a meeting right now. Like first words out your mouth. So your reaction is, no, sorry, what is it? And I've kind of taken that objection away from you. It's a little bit cheeky because I'm doing what I just said probably shouldn't do earlier, is take agency away. But if we know we're going to get that kind of smokescreen objection in a meeting and we don't believe it to be true, because we look down at the clock, we think, who runs into a meeting at 37 minutes past? Yeah. But you can't call them out on it. But what if you could prevent it from coming up in the first place by saying, have I caught you at the worst possible time? Have I caught you in the middle of like something really, really critical? If that is your opener, then people go, no, not exactly. Who is it? And then you can go into your pitch. And now they'll have to come up with a new objection if they've got one. And that's fine because we've got some ways to deal with those. But we get rid of that knee-jerk one. Because we can't really deny that they're going in the meeting. We can have our suspicions, but we can't call people out on it. Even if we're right, we just piss people off.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, the is it a bad time or caught you at a bad time? Could be a controversial one because I think that does divide opinion. But have I caught you in the middle of a meeting or going into a meeting? I quite like that.
Or if you get it, again, it's what a lot of people do is they hit them with perfectly logical. Can I sum up why I'm calling in 30 seconds and you can tell me if it's relevant or not? Okay? There's nothing wrong with that. The problem I have with it is that people hit them with it too soon, too smooth, it's too perfect. So the couple of steps before that I suggest is you play along to their prediction of what might happen so they feel safe. So someone says, it's a really bad time, I'm running into a meeting. Go, that's cool, I can give you a call back. Yeah, please do. Yeah, okay. This number? Yeah, cool. What time do you want me to give you a call back? 4 o'clock? Yeah, that's fine. And we'll just run through that. And you can get a sense of whether, someone's thinking, I'm winning, I'm getting rid of this person. And then go, okay, man, I'll give you a call back at 4:30. Hey, look, is it worth me telling you what it's about? And that way, if it's not, I don't have to call you back. Now, that person is invested, gone back and forth with you a little bit. So there's a bit of investment in time. If they really don't want to hear it, you've secured a callback time as authentic as we can predict, but you might just get them going, yeah, okay. So it's play along with it, and then kind of like, do you remember the TV show Columbo? I don't know if we ever spoke about this.
Might show my age. My mum's a massive fan of Columbo.
Yeah. So
I think I know what's coming.
You know what's coming, right? Yeah. He would always let people think that they got away with it, and then he'd go towards the door, and then sort of like turn around. Aha, gotcha. It's kind of like the sales version of that. It's you play along, people's defense is lower, and then just as you exiting the call, it's like, oh, by the way, and then you can hit them with, is it worth me just telling you actually why I called in the first place? Because this might not be relevant. And then you can go in with it, and they'll be more receptive, in my opinion, to at least hear you out. And who knows, you might actually open up a conversation. Or, at worst, you've got your callback time that you can qualify.
Yeah, brilliant. And there's a couple of things you've touched on there around the, you caught you in a meeting that we'll probably come on to into a future episode around objection prevention and actually preventing some of these things coming up. And you've talked about tonality quite a bit, and we're going to talk about how to master your communication quite a lot. Let's have one more, shall we? One more of these fob-offs to get your thoughts on. Which one would you like?
Should we send me an email one?
Let's do send me an email.
Because I still think that's one that trips people up.
Yeah.
So we all know that we shouldn't be sending emails. I guess it depends where this comes up. If it comes up really early and we can be sure that it's a smoke screen, we can be pretty sure that it's a fob off, right? And that they're not going to read the email. They're definitely not going to reply to it and book a meeting with you. Like, I don't think I've ever had that happen, with all my optimism that it might, at some point early in my career. It never really happened. And nobody keeps you on file.
That's the worst bit. I was thinking keeping on file in my head.
Nobody keeps you on file, right? So again, someone says, send you an email. Now you have to realize, okay, their anti-salesperson program is running. I've got to let it run its course, which is to play along. And you go, yeah, absolutely. I've got your email address as this, okay? Is that right? And you confirm it, and you let them think, okay, what specifically would you like to see in the email? All that can come, but a lot of people then try and say, well, can I explain it in 30 seconds? And then if it's not relevant, I don't have to send you the email. That's all perfectly fine, but run with the program first. So, yeah, sure, I can send you anything specific you want to see. Okay, let them come up with whatever BS reason they've got. Got your email address as this. Sometimes I might intentionally misspell the email address just to see whether they correct you or not. Because if they correct you, learn that from someone, like when you give your number to someone, blah blah. If they read it back and they read it back right, they're quite serious. They might actually text you back or something. Girl taught me that. But read back their email address. But the main thing is you're letting them think that, okay, that send me an email response that's worked on every other person has worked. So they let their guard down, and then just like Columbo, then you can say, okay, cool. Given that you wanted that specifically, can you tell me why that's important to you right now, though? And you can start asking and probing around those problems or whatever they've said. You follow the conversation. The main thing is learn the talk tracks that work for you, but learn that even if you say everything perfectly right at the right time, in the right timing, it might be just hitting that invisible emotional guard. You've got to get that down first, because you can do everything right and the person will just repel you just out of instinct. So that's the biggest mistake I see. A lot of SDRs are actually learning to say all the right things, just then not priming their prospects for it. Does that make sense?
Brilliant. Robin, great first episode. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Looking forward to the next one.